The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, a fan retelling, Part 3, Shadow, Spirit, and Salvation. Chapter 16, The Dead Are Not at Peace. The golden light of the Temple of Time faded, and with it, Link's towering strength and adult form dissolved. He stood once more in his smaller frame, lighter, quicker, but somehow more fragile. The Master Sword loomed above him in its pedestal, unreachable now, a symbol of strength he could no longer wield. The transition from adulthood to childhood was not just physical, it was emotional. Link stumbled slightly as he left the pedestal. His hands, once steady and powerful, were now small and soft again. The iron boots felt impossibly heavy, the bow he had grown adept at using now too large for his frame. But more than the awkwardness of muscle memory, there was the weight of perspective. He had seen a world torn by darkness, grown with grief and decay. He carried knowledge no child should bear, and now wore it behind wide eyes and a youthful face. Still, resolve hardened his heart. If his size was a limitation, it was also a gift. Only a child could explore the bottom of the well and confront what lay hidden beneath Kakariko. He had to embrace this form, this part of himself, because it too held courage. The entrance to the bottom of the well was unassuming, just a hole, dark and silent. But descending into it felt like falling into a waking nightmare. The very air was damp with the breath of the dead, and the walls wept rot. Nothing was as it seemed. Link soon discovered that the shadows in the well bent reality. Walls existed where there should be open space, and doors vanished when approached. It was a realm ruled by illusion, memory, and pain. Flickering torches cast long, trembling shadows across blood-streaked floors. Hands reached from ceilings. Screams echoed from nowhere. Link relied not on sight alone, but on instinct. He listened for shifts in air, for the creak of unseen traps, for the groan of invisible walls. Carefully, he crept past spinning blades and pools of poisoned water. And then came the beast. The dead hand slithered from the ground like a nightmare given flesh, pale, bloated, its elongated neck lurching with grotesque speed. Link was pinned by one of the many disembodied hands rooted to the floor, held immobile as the creature loomed. He did not scream, he waited, struggled, slashed with his sword the moment it lunged. The fight was visceral and close, and when the monster fell with a keening wail, the air seemed to loosen, just slightly. In a hidden chamber beyond, he found a sacred relic, the lens of truth, a tool of clarity and light in a place of deception. When raised to his eye, the world was revealed. Illusions melted away, traps laid bare, paths once sealed opened. Armed with this knowledge, Link returned to the Temple of Time and retrieved the Master Sword once more. He became an adult again, not just in body, but in resolve. Back in Kakariko, the people spoke in hushed tones. The scars of the fire still marred the village. Smoke stains lingered on brick. The elderly clutched rosaries. Children asked their parents if the monster would return. They looked to Link now with eyes full of hope. Not fear, not awe, but trust. "You're the one who saved us," said a carpenter. "Whatever escaped that well, it's still out there, isn't it?" Link nodded. Guided by Sheik, Link made his way to the Shadow Temple, a place once sealed behind a stone door deep in the graveyard. The lens of truth revealed the path. The barrier fell, and the way forward opened. The Shadow Temple awaited. Built by Sheikah hands to house and hide Hyrule's darkest secrets, it whispered with forgotten screams and ancient sins. It was here that the spirit of the shadow had returned. And it was here Link would end the curse that had plagued this quaint village all through Hyrule's long history. Chapter 17, Hyrule's Bloody Past. The mouth of the Shadow Temple yawned wide beneath the cragged stone of Kakariko's graveyard, a gaping wound in the hillside. Mist coiled in the darkness beyond, refusing to cross the threshold. Only with the lens of truth held firmly in hand did Link pass through the illusionary wall, stepping beyond the world of the living and into a realm of whispers and ash. Here, the Sheikah had hidden their greatest shame and darkest knowledge. The air was still and cold. Every footstep echoed unnaturally in vast halls where no wind stirred. Carved into the walls were warnings in faded Sheikah script. Only one with the eye of truth shall find the path forward. And it was true. Without the lens, Link would have walked off ledges into endless chasms, stumbled into spinning blades, or missed hidden doors etched in deception. Everything here was crafted to confuse, to terrify, to protect the secrets buried in shadow. The traps were unrelenting. Rows of guillotines dropped with mechanical finality, slicing the air where Link had just passed. Bladed fans roared to life, sending piercing gales through narrow corridors. Invisible walls, false floors, and rooms filled with shrieking redeads turned every step into a trial. Yet Link moved with the calm of experience. Sword ready, bow strung, bombs and magic at his side. In one vast chamber, a river of the dead carried an ancient ferry boat, moored to the bones of long-forgotten warriors. Link climbed aboard and played Zelda's lullaby to awaken the vessel. The boat groaned and lurched, moving along its ghostly track through a sea of darkness. Midway across, spectral warriors emerged, Stalfos, clad in rusted armor, wielding decayed swords. The battle atop the unsteady boat was fierce, steel clashing over the abyss. With precision, Link struck them down, and the boat crashed into its final destination, a crumbling dock just before a vast abyss. Beyond lay the final test. A stone bridge, lined with statues of weeping angels, led into a cavern unlike the rest. It pulsed with a sickly, rhythmic thrum like a heartbeat. The walls twisted, curved, enclosing like the walls of a drum. And then it rose. From the depths emerged a formless horror. A massive creature, unseen until it reared its twin, disembodied hands from the earth. Its body, headless and hulking, surged into the light. The only visible part of its face, a single glaring red eye atop a spectral neck. This was Bongo Bongo, the escaped spirit from the well. A shadow beast born of hate and pain, now unshackled. The room itself became an instrument. Link found himself thrown onto a giant drum that bounced with every step. The beast pounded it with ghostly hands, disorienting him. Vision blurred. Balance became a weapon. Using the lens of truth, Link found the monster's form in the air. Its hands, its eye, its core. He loosed arrows into the flying hands, dodging slams and shockwaves. When stunned, Bongo Bongo's eye surged forward. Link fired with precision. 1, 2, 3 arrows. Then, with sword raised, he leapt and struck. The beast howled in voiceless agony. The cycle repeated, faster, more chaotic, the drum trembling beneath him. But Link endured, a whirlwind of steel and courage. Finally, with a cry that shook the cavern, Bongo Bongo collapsed into dust and shadow, its essence sucked into the abyss from whence it came. Silence returned. A blue light rose from the center of the platform. Link stepped in, and the temple faded into white. He stood once more in the Chamber of the Sages, a luminal and ethereal space that started to feel familiar to Link at this stage. Beneath the seal of the Triforce, the stone emblem of the shadow floated above him. There, standing within the circle of light, was Impa. She stood tall, her Sheikah eyes calm. The boy with the noble heart, I always knew you would return. The people of Kakariko owe you their lives. I am the Sage of Shadow, sworn to protect the temple and the realm beyond. She extended her hand, and the shadow medallion floated toward Link, bathing him in cool violet light. Please give my thanks to Princess Zelda, she said, voice soft, and protect her. You are what's left of hope. With that, she vanished into light. Link stood alone once more, but not truly. Each sage awakened brought strength to the seal that would bind Ganondorf, and in each victory, he grew not only in power but in purpose. Chapter 18, The Sands of the West. The desert winds whispered of secrets and sun-baked trials. Link rode Epona hard across the vast plains of Hyrule Field, the hooves of his steed beating a steady rhythm toward the western horizon. Dust rose beneath them as they galloped into the narrowing canyon mouth of Gerudo Valley, a jagged gorge lined with cliffs and dry heat leading to the fortress of the desert people. At first, it seemed deserted. All that was heard was the wind rustling the banners strung across the wooden bridges. But as Link crossed the final span, he was ambushed. Gerudo warriors, swift and graceful, leapt down from the walls, surrounding him with curved blades. We don't take kindly to intruders, the leader sneered, especially men. Before Link could respond, a blow struck him from behind. The world spun, and then blackness. Link awoke in a prison cell, the metal bars cold and unmoving. Guess I should have expected this, he thought, rubbing his head. Peering through the narrow window, he saw the heart of Gerudo Fortress, a labyrinthine network of sandstone towers and wooden platforms, all patrolled by swift-footed warriors. But Link was nothing if not resourceful. Using his hook shot, he latched onto a distant target, pulling himself from the cell silently. The fortress became a playground of stealth. He darted from shadow to shadow, waiting until guards turned their backs. If spotted, he was thrown back into a cell, but each time he escaped with growing confidence. In the dungeons of the fortress, Link discovered a group of imprisoned carpenters, captured when they'd tried to join the Gerudo ranks. "Get me out of here, will ya?" one cried. "Those women are crazy." One by one, Link freed them, battling fierce Gerudo guards in tight corridors. The battles were swift and skillful, the warriors agile, but Link's mastery of swordplay and tools turned the tide. When the last carpenter was freed, a Gerudo commander appeared. But instead of hostility, there was amusement. "You have skill and honor," she said. "We do not often allow men into our ranks, but you've earned it." With that, Link was declared an honorary Gerudo, granted free passage through the fortress. He was given a Gerudo token and access to training grounds once reserved only for their finest. Link stayed for a while in the Gerudo training ground, a twisting gauntlet of traps, puzzles, and skill challenges. Here, he sharpened his abilities further, using fire and ice arrows, solving block puzzles under pressure, defeating waves of foes within time limits. It was a crucible of knowledge, preparing him for trials yet to come. Outside, he tried his hand at horseback archery, galloping Epona across the target lanes and striking bullseyes with practiced ease. Each shot was a meditation in motion, a union of speed and precision. But even as the Gerudo welcomed him, Link's path led deeper into the sands. With the sun hanging low, he followed a trail into the haunted wasteland, guided only by a spectral figure, a phantom flag-bearer who shimmered in the heat. The wind howled like forgotten voices, and without the lens of truth, Link would have been lost forever. The sands played tricks, ruined structures loomed like mirages, and whirlwinds threatened to pull him under. Yet he pressed on, heart steady. Finally, he reached the desert colossus, a massive ancient statue of a woman with arms outstretched, her stone body half buried in sand. Carved into the cliffs beside her was the entrance to the final temple, the Spirit Temple. Link stood before it, sensing its dual nature. The magic here was old, older than the kingdom of Hyrule itself. He would not be able to face this alone, not in his current form. The sands whispered again, this time in the voice of destiny. Chapter 19, Spirit Broken in Two. The heat of the desert waned as twilight settled over the desert colossus, bathing the sand and stone in gold. Before the Spirit Temple's entrance, Link paused. A whisper on the wind called to him, not from the temple, but from the past. He heard the soft notes of a melody carried on the breeze, and as he stood among the shifting sands, Sheik appeared once more, cloaked in mystery. "This temple is unlike the others," Sheik said, eyes reflecting the dying light. "Its power is divided. You must become what you once were to pass through its first gate." Sheik raised a harp and played a melody both haunting and pure. "This is the Requiem of Spirit. Let it guide your soul across time." Link listened closely, memorizing the notes. As he played them back on the Ocarina of Time, golden light enveloped him, warping space and memory. In an instant, he stood once more within the Temple of Time, smaller, lighter, a child again. He felt the shift in his bones, the return of youth and vulnerability. The Master Sword still rested in its pedestal, for now he was once again the boy of the forest. With Saria's ocarina pressed to his lips, he played the Requiem again, and light carried him back to the desert. The Spirit Temple loomed before him, its great halls ancient and unmoved by time. As a child, Link could now access areas previously unreachable. He entered through a low crawl space and began exploring its forgotten corridors. The air was dry and heavy with old enchantments. Ancient statues of goddesses loomed from alcoves, their eyes long closed. Sunlight filtered through cracks in the ceiling, creating shifting mosaics across the stone floors. The temple was alive with traps and puzzles. Link fought through cursed enemies, Anubis statues that mirrored his movement, flame-spewing traps, and armored iron knuckles whose immense axes shattered stone. He used his boomerang, slingshot, and clever use of bomb chists to bypass ancient mechanisms. But the strangest part of the temple was not its puzzles, it was its people. In one chamber, Link encountered a woman unlike any he had seen. Fierce-eyed and sharp-tongued, she wore the colors of the Gerudo, but moved with secrecy. She introduced herself only as Naburu, a rogue from the fortress. "I don't work for Ganondorf," she said, arms crossed. "In fact, I'm trying to stop him. I came here to raid the temple, take the treasure before it can be used for evil. But these witches, they've sealed the upper levels." Intrigued by Link's bravery, Naburu asked for his help. "There's a passage I can't fit through, but you can. Find what's inside and report back." Link agreed, squeezing into a hidden tunnel and retrieving a silver gauntlet, a powerful relic capable of granting the strength to move great stone blocks. But when he returned, the chamber echoed with laughter. Above Naburu, twin shadows appeared, Kume and Kotake, the evil sorceress sisters, long allied with Ganondorf. "You meddlesome child," cackled Kume. "We'll deal with you later," hissed Kotake. With a wave of their magic, the sisters bound Naburu in a beam of dark energy. "We have use for this woman," they said. "She'll serve our master well, eventually." Before Link could act, they vanished, taking Naburu with them. Link stood alone in the chamber, the silver gauntlets clutched in his hands. He looked down at them, then back at the temple entrance. The path forward lay not in the body of a child, but in the strength of a hero. He raised the ocarina once more and played the prelude of light, vanishing in a burst of radiance. The time had come to return as the hero of time, to finish what he had started. The light of dawn broke over the Temple of Time as Link returned to manhood, grasping the Master Sword once again. The time of waiting was over. With the silver gauntlets in his possession, he traveled back across the shifting dunes of the haunted wasteland to the desert Colossus, his purpose renewed. Now armed with the strength of an adult and the knowledge of what awaited inside, Link re-entered the Spirit Temple. The air remained still and dry, but something deeper now stirred within the stone walls. The ancient structure seemed to sense his return, and it was ready. Wearing the silver gauntlets, Link pressed forward, lifting massive stone slabs that had once barred his way. His fairy bow, hookshot, and bombs served him well as he made his way through deadly traps and rooms thick with enemies. The temple was as much a test of courage as it was of strength. He faced another towering iron knuckle, but this one fought with uncanny skill and ferocity. As the armor shattered from Link's final blow, a gasp echoed across the chamber. Beneath the broken helm was a familiar face, Naburu. She fell to her knees, dazed and free from the witch's curse. "Link," she whispered, blinking. They controlled me. I couldn't stop them." Link reached out silently, helping her to her feet. Naburu looked into his eyes and managed a weary smile. "You really are something else, kid. I mean, hero." But their reunion was brief. The temple trembled as a powerful magic surged above. Naburu looked up. "Go. Finish this. I'll find my way out." Climbing to the highest sanctum of the Spirit Temple, Link confronted the twin witches Kum and Kotake at last. Hovering on their brooms, the sorceresses launched fiery and icy spells in tandem, forcing Link to dodge and strategize. Utilizing the mirror shield, Link absorbed and reflected their elemental attacks. After several grueling exchanges, the witches, frustrated, merged into a monstrous hybrid form, Twin Rova. The battle reached a fevered pitch as Link alternated between fire and ice, redirecting their magic with precision. With one final deflection, the twin sisters were struck down, vanishing in a flash of light and curses. Peace returned to the chamber. Light bathed the platform, and Link was transported once again to the Chamber of the Sages. There stood Naburu, now cloaked in light and purpose. "I knew there was something about you," she said, her voice echoing with newfound clarity. "You saved me, and now I will do my part to save Hyrule." She placed her hands together and closed her eyes. "As the Sage of Spirit, I swear to aid you in the final battle. Take this, my power." A beam of golden light surged into Link, granting him the final piece of the power he would need to confront Ganondorf. As Naburu faded into the sacred plane, she looked back one last time. "You remind me of someone I knew long ago. Stay strong, hero of time." With the Spirit Temple purified and the final sage awakened, Link stood alone once more on the stone platform in the desert. The 6 sages were gathered. The time was near. Only one path remained. Chapter 20. The Trials of Evil. With all 6 sages awakened and each temple purified, Link stood upon the edge of fate. Yet even as the wind carried whispers of the final battle, the hero of time took a moment to walk the land he had spent so long protecting. There were still favors left undone, small ripples in the grand current of destiny. He returned to Hyrule Field, helping travelers stranded by monsters. In Lon Lon Ranch, he checked in on Malon and Talon, ensuring their safety and sharing brief laughter over memories of horse races and the bond with Epona. He traveled to Zora's domain, still frozen under a glacial curse. Though he could not yet thaw its waters, he left the people hope, delivering items, solving lingering puzzles, and using his lens of truth, Hookshot, and Din's fire to uncover secrets hidden beneath ice and stone. In Kakariko Village, he played songs to bring comfort to children. He used the Bigoron sword, acquired after a long and intricate trading sequence, to help a man in training overcome a fierce trial. Each act, though small, strengthened the bond between hero and homeland. And then, when all debts were paid and all tools honed, Link returned to the Temple of Time. There, waiting by the Master Sword's pedestal, was Sheik. "You have grown strong," Sheik said, voice tinged with something deeper. "The 6 sages are ready. All that remains is you." As Sheik raised the harp to play one final melody, golden light engulfed them both. The music slowed. The air stilled. Then, with a flash of power, Sheik was gone, and in his place stood Princess Zelda. "Link, I'm sorry I had to hide my identity," she said, her eyes filled with sorrow and strength. "I've watched you grow into the hero this world needs. The Triforce of Wisdom is mine, and you hold the Triforce of Courage. Ganondorf seeks the final piece." But before she could say more, the temple shook. A dark vortex surrounded her. Ganondorf's voice boomed across time. "You foolish girl! Did you think I wouldn't see through your disguise?" Dark energy surrounded Zelda, imprisoning her in a crystal prison. Link reached out, but it was too late. She vanished in a blinding flash. Ganondorf's taunting voice echoed through the chamber. "Come to me, Link, if you dare." The final path had opened. Link left the temple, and the ground trembled as he approached Ganon's castle, where Hyrule Castle once stood. Now twisted by evil, it towered above a chasm of darkness, guarded by shrieking redeads and crawling shadow beasts. But Link was not alone. The 6 sages appeared, their power converging to form a rainbow bridge, a glowing path across the abyss. The music of destiny surged as Link crossed the light bridge toward his final trial. Inside the castle, darkness was thick and cold. The interior was a twisted monument to Ganondorf's corruption, each wing of the fortress modeled after the elements of the temples. One by one, Link cleared each chamber, using the arsenal of weaponry he had amassed and the technical skill set he had at this stage mastered. In the forest wing, he used his bow and mastery of sacred melodies. In the fire wing, he donned the Goron tunic and battled amidst lava flows. In the water wing, the iron boots and clever use of torches and blocks led him through. The shadow wing called for the lens of truth and careful timing through invisible traps. The spirit wing tested his use of light and reflection, using the mirror shield to redirect beams. Finally, in the light wing, sacred power helped vanquish phantoms and illusions. With each seal broken, the core of the castle revealed itself. Magic surged in the air. The final battle loomed. Link climbed the spiral staircase, heart pounding beneath his green tunic. Each weapon at his side had been earned through trial and growth. Every scar bore witness to the courage he carried. And far above, waiting on his dark throne, Ganondorf waited. Chapter 21, The Demon King. Link stepped into the heart of darkness. The echoing corridors of Ganon's castle wound upward in a maddening spiral, and with each step, the sound of an organ grew louder. It was no ordinary melody, it was a dirge, soaked in malice. Ganondorf was playing it, and the music reverberated through the stone walls like the heartbeat of the castle itself. The climb was long. The walls seemed to close in tighter the higher Link went, the air heavier with every breath. Shadows slithered across the stone floors, and the very torches along the walls burned with an unnatural blue flame. Yet Link pressed forward, his boots falling in rhythm with the organ's ominous crescendo. Finally, at the summit, massive double doors loomed. He pushed them open, and the organ stopped. There in the chamber's center, Zelda hovered above the ground, trapped in a glowing prison of magic. At the far end of the room, his back turned to the door, Ganondorf sat before a massive pipe organ. Slowly he rose. "So you've come, boy," the Dark Lord said without turning. "The Triforce parts are finally reunited." He turned, eyes glowing with hatred and triumph. "Do you truly think a child in a man's clothes can stop me?" With a roar of power, Ganondorf raised his hand, and the battle began. The chamber trembled as he unleashed waves of dark energy. Link dodged, rolled, and returned volleys of light with his master sword and light arrows, learned from Zelda's teachings. The battle was fierce. Ganondorf hovered high above, protected by a cloak of magic. Dark balls of pure malice flied at Link, and he in turn answered with volleys of pure light from his bow. With steady aim and courage forged in fire and shadow, Link fired a light arrow into the core of Ganondorf's chest, stunning him. As the sorcerer fell to the floor, Link seized his chance and leapt across the collapsing tiles, delivering strike after strike. With one final cry, Ganondorf crumpled, the castle shaking in response. The dark magic holding Zelda shattered. She fell into Link's arms, weak but alive. "You did it, Link," she said weakly. And just as silence fell atop the tallest tower of the castle, the ground began to shake. "We have to get out of here," Zelda cried out. "Ganondorf is using what power he has left to tear this castle down and us with it." Together they ran as the castle began to collapse. Ceilings cracked and fell, walls split open, vomiting fire. Zelda led the way with her power, opening sealed doors and breaking barriers, while Link shielded her from collapsing debris and emerging enemies, Stalfos, Lizalfos, and Redeads. In the final hallway, the ceiling gave way. Link grabbed Zelda, rolling out of the collapsing corridor just in time. They emerged into the night. Silence fell. The towering monstrosity that had been Ganon's castle crumbled behind them, swallowed by darkness. Zelda and Link stood breathless, hearts pounding, the stars above flickering as if in relief. Silence again fell. They made it out alive, and Ganondorf had finally met his demise. But peace could not last. From the rubble, a monstrous roar erupted. A pillar of flame surged upward, and from the smoke rose something no longer human. Ganondorf had transformed. Massive, tusked, and cloaked in darkness, the beast that emerged was Ganon, a towering demon of rage and ruin. His eyes burned like molten lava, and in his hand 2 massive blades shimmered with killing intent. A boar-like beast of pure anger and raw power. Link did not hesitate. He was tired and his body felt torn, yet he stepped forward, sword raised. This was no longer a battle for justice or vengeance. This was a battle for the very soul of Hyrule. Chapter 22, The Final Blow. The monstrous form of Ganon towered over the ruins, blades clashing like thunder, eyes seething with hatred. Link, battered but unbowed, stood before him, the master sword gleaming faintly in the darkness. Zelda stood behind, her hands glowing with sacred light. "Link, I will hold him," she cried, forming a protective barrier that locked Ganon in a circle of golden power. "Strike now! This is our only chance!" Ganon roared, swinging his blades with primal fury. The ground split beneath his feet, flames erupting as the essence of destruction bled into the world. But Link moved swiftly, using every skill he had honed through temples, trials, and time. He dodged thunderous strikes, launched arrows into Ganon's glowing wounds, and rolled beneath the beast to slash at his vulnerable tail. The battle was brutal and unrelenting, but they fought not with fear, but with purpose. When the final blow came, it was righteous and true. Link raised the Master Sword high and drove it down into Ganon's face, the blade piercing the evil that had twisted the land. The beast let out one final, ear-splitting roar that echoed into the void, and then collapsed, defeated. Above them, the sky tore open as the 6 sages appeared. Saria, Darunia, Ruto, Impa, Naburu, and Rauru, their hands raised to the heavens. "Ancient creators of Hyrule," Rauru intoned, "now open the sealed door and send the evil incarnation of darkness into the void of the evil realm." A beam of divine light shot downward, wrapping around Ganon's crumpled form. The air twisted with power as the sages chanted in unison. Ganon screamed, his voice fading into nothingness. The seal was complete. The evil was contained. Peace had returned to Hyrule. In the quiet after the storm, Link and Zelda stood once more in the sacred realm, before the pedestal of time. The Master Sword pulsed gently in Link's hand. "Your journey is over," Zelda said softly. "The time you lost, it must be returned." Link nodded. They stared at each other's adult faces one last time, and then without a word, Link stepped forward and gently slid the Master Sword back into its pedestal. As it locked into place, his body shimmered and shrank, returning him to the child he once was. The body of a child once more. This time forever, but with the mind and experience of one much older who had been through so much. Zelda raised her hand, her magic returning her and Link to their own time. As the light faded, one final sound echoed through the chamber, the fluttering of wings. Navi, his faithful companion, drifted upward, her light dim but steady. "Navi?" Link whispered, but she said nothing. With one final circle above him, she turned and flew into the sacred light, vanishing beyond the chamber. Link stared after her, the silence deafening. He didn't cry, he didn't chase, he simply bowed his head. "Thank you," he whispered. Days passed, then weeks. Each region of Hyrule repaired the damage that had befallen them and readjusted to this new, calmer world they now shared. Then came the great celebration. Under stars and colorful lanterns, Lon Lon Ranch came alive with music and laughter. Tables overflowed with food. Children chased Kukos. Gorons danced wildly. Zoras drank from steep goblets, arm in arm with the townspeople of all regions of Hyrule's vast land, Hylia, Gerudo Valley, Castletown, and Kakariko Village. Link saw them all, faces from his journey. Every soul he had helped gathered to honor the boy who had saved them. Malon sang, Talon toasted, and even Ingo smiled. Link stood beneath a tree, quiet but content. Zelda approached, dressed not in royal robes but simple linen. She looked at Link, her eyes soft and understanding. "Is it really over?" she asked. He looked at her, then at the stars. "For now," he seemed to say, though no words left his lips. She stood close to Link, and they looked out upon the field filled with so much joy. Then Link felt a hand gently brush against his, and Link and Zelda's hands met. And in that moment, the world paused. The music seemed to fade away. Time stood still. Small, young, and uncertain, but filled with hope. Together, they would step into a new world of their own making.